I'd like to ask you to look at the picture that you see on your screen right now of some new tribe that was discovered. And I want you to ask yourself the question, if I lived in that culture, would I do what they're doing? Would I put big bones in my ears and plates to make my lips look what in our mind would be completely ridiculous, but to them seems completely ordinary? They've probably been putting plates in their lips for hundreds or even thousands of years. Would you do the same thing if you lived there? Now let's not consider the possibility that you moved there from the culture in which you live right now, but let's consider that if you grew up there, would you do what they do? And why would you do what they do? I would argue that yes, you would do exactly what they do. And now I'm going to tell you the reason for this. The reason is that never once in your life have you ever stopped to ask the question, why? And this, my friends, is happening to you right now in the culture in which you live today. You don't ask why any more than the people do that you see on your screen. And you know what? Whatever stupidity this culture creates for you is exactly what you repeat. The crazy thing is you even think it's you that's deciding to do most of what you think you're doing, and it's not you. You're entirely unaware that it's been bred into you, and those thoughts put into your head by culture and by the authorities that run it. Now, if that made you think just for a moment, then I ask yourself to stop and think, how many other things do you think about that maybe it's not even your own mind thinking it? How many things do you do that you don't even question? What do you know that was put there by others in society and by the people who run this society, by the people who run the culture, by the movers and the shakers of this world? How much of what's in your head is them and not you at all? And finally, how much of what you think you really know to be true is completely and totally false? Consider this about your fake reality. Right now, we have a guy running for Congress, and his name is Pete Buttigieg, I guess. Well, does that not, what's the first thing that you think in your head when you see that word? Well, Peter Buttigieg. I mean, it's laughable. And wouldn't you just know it that Peter Buttigieg is gay? Boy, that puts some unfortunate and weird pictures in our head, doesn't it? We once had a person in the news named Bobbitt. And what happened to Bobbitt? Well, he had his wiener bobbed off, didn't he? And some of us thought at the time, well, that's really weird. Speaking of wieners, a man literally named Wiener in Congress got caught showing off his wiener and spent some time in jail for it. We also had a president named Hussein Obama right after a decade of fighting Hussein and Osama. Now you have a president and a vice president named Trump Pence. Doesn't that sound a lot like trumpets? For trying to create the third temple in Jerusalem. In fact, the president even has his picture on the coin, the shekel, that is being sold to raise money to build the third temple. And then there was Jim Acosta, the famed CNN reporter, most known for accosting the president. Recently, there was a girl in the news who committed suicide. She had previously survived a school shooting, the article said, and the story just kind of looked fake. If you saw her shirt, it said evolution on it and love backwards, and I don't know, it just didn't look very real. Strangely enough, another suicide from someone that had survived another school shooting happened the very next day. What are the odds of that? But this girl, what was her name? A-I-E-L-L-O. A-I-L-O. As in AI like artificial intelligence, and L like a pronoun for she or a female. So an AI produced female who was clearly a production. Do you get it? Most of what you think is real is fake. We have a president who was literally into WWE. And some of you still think that the WWE is real. You think your news is real. You think your sports are real. But all of it, I'm telling you, is fake. We prove it every day in Gematria. Don't you think that we should stop saying the emperor is wearing this beautiful robe when he's flaunting himself butt naked through the streets? It's a stage production. Stage names are fake. Your government and media are stages. Those who act upon them are fake. Now, I don't want to scare anybody and make anybody think that what I'm about to say means that I believe in a flat earth, because I don't. I do believe the world is a sphere. But something awfully fishy about some numbers that should be on your screen right about now. Have you considered what are the possibilities that the diameter of the moon is the same as the point on a pentagram, 216? And that all these sizes that you see for the diameter of the earth are just what it has to be to create this pyramid exactly perfectly. Is it likely that the diameter of the earth and moon combined would be the same as the radius of the moon? The same numbers. Or that you would get angles on there, or not angles, but parts of a triangle that are also another point of the pyramid? How likely is that? Somebody's telling us some things that aren't true. Somebody's using sacred geometry and inventing or playing with the numbers. We know that in Gematria, Saturn equals 96. And then Saturn is supposedly going 96.9 kilometers per second around the sun. Does that sound very likely? What are the chances that the tilt of the Earth would have an angle of 23.4, meaning the other angle to get to the 90 would be 66.6 degrees? And that the longest space flight was 666 days. Somebody's playing with geometry. Sacred geometry. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. Like the diameter of the moon. Is it really that hard to understand? And even though the numbers are contrived, it doesn't mean that the world is flat. It means somebody's playing with the numbers. Does it mean they didn't get to the moon? I don't know. I think they did, but I don't, Would it shock me if they didn't? That the whole thing is made up, just like these numbers? It's certainly logical. But since I wasn't on the rocket, I really don't know, you know. I do believe the satellites are really in space. I've seen them with a telescope myself. So I know they're up there. Okay. So now somebody might argue I don't even understand the flat Earth perspective well enough for that to even be logical. You know, what's it doing up there and how's it moving? I don't know. So I definitely don't believe for a second that it's flat. I just believe the numbers are screwy here. Isn't it weird how the NASA symbol, which should be showing up on your screen any second here, is NASA, and the AS is circled. A is the first letter of the alphabet. S is the 19th letter of the alphabet. 119, which is the sacred feminine. Divine feminine in Jewish gematria equals 911. It coincides with the moon because of the Metonic cycle. In fact, if you take the 19th Fibonacci number and divide it by the diameter of the moon, you get 11.9. What are the chances? It's interesting that this fake reality that has been constructed for us continues in science fiction, almost as if we can't even tell or make out the difference. You see, flight was started in Ohio with the Wright brothers. Ohio sums to 117 in Jewish gematria, just like the word Buckeye. Now you extrapolate that, and you find that James T. Kirk and Jean-Luc Picard also sum to 117. Space is also 17. The first Enterprise was the NX-01, which is 17. The Enterprise from the 60s version of Star Trek was called the NCC 1701. A Klingon is 107 in reverse ordinal gematria. And you can just follow as you see. I'm just going up the list here from bottom to top. Even Spock is 17 over in the septenary cipher. And the new Enterprise, the, what's that thing called? Voyager? No, that's the other one. That's Discovery for the new series. Right there on its hull is 1227. 22 divided by 7 is pi. And the 17 is just another 17 like space. Gets kind of funny after a while, don't you think? Even Jonathan Archer, the supposed first Enterprise captain, was 1017, and William Riker 1173. So if some of you are having a hard time telling what's real and what's fake, where does the real end and the fake begin? Or where does the fake end and the real begin? Well, you're not alone. They've done a very good job of they've succeeded in pulling the wool over our own eyes. It's very important that we begin to decode these things, that we form investigation committees or groups or journalists that can go out and learn what the truth really is. Because we believe the polls, we believe the articles, and they're lying to us. I just saw an article that said that by a sincere, honest person that believes that Christianity may be doing a little better, because an article said that sincerity in Christians has risen from 39 to 47%, and I tried my best to point out probably won't do any good. But I tried my best to point out that the word Christian in Gematria sums to 39 and 47. And it was posted in probably a very well-meaning Christian article that this person shared. But if we don't start understanding that this stuff is fake, how are we going to make a difference in the world? Because we're going to continue basing our reality on lies. And they've given us the clues to understand that they're fake. They drop them in movies all the time. Yesterday, I watched a movie called Scorpion King, which I found very interesting. Scorpion King had a gate that led to the Moon Princess, and they told us very openly about the septenary cipher. In fact, the septenary cipher was pictured on the top of the gate. There were 6 phases of the moon to the left, a full moon in the middle, and the repeating phases on the right. The characters said that the only way that the moon gate could be opened is by using the cipher that repeats itself. If you go to gematrinator.com and you look through all the ciphers, you'll see that there's only one that repeats itself. It's called the septenary cipher that is based on the Bible and the 7 days of the week. The characters then took a device, a staff that had an old-fashioned cipher decoder like you'd see back from the 1700s, and they had some lenses on it, and they had to set it according to this cipher, to the septenary cipher, to focus the moonlight on the gate to open the gate. The main character, the Scorpion King, was a very messianic figure. In fact, at one point he was depicted as if he were hanging on a cross. The Bible says that the sting of sin is death, and yet the Scorpion King came back to life by the stings of the scorpions, you see. Depiction of that verse. Out of the gate came the Moon Princess, a picture of the divine feminine, as women are always shown as moons, like names like Selena and Selene, which means moon. But we found out that her body was the book of souls. And every person that was slain by the magic sword in this movie, their names appeared on her body. And the only way to set their souls free was for her to be sacrificed. You see, Jesus is the perfect combination of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And so this is a good picture of a messianic sacrifice and atonement for sin. There's actually a really amazing metaphor in this movie of the Bible. However, the false ones take this sort of knowledge and they twist it, and they want to separate and kill the divine feminine and separate it from the divine masculine. That's why we see sacrifices coded according to moon eclipses. It's why we see false flags coded with moon numbers. It's why the coal was supposedly reported bombed at 11:18, because 108, the radius of the moon. If you've heard my other videos, I go through the list all the times of all the 1/8s in connection to false flag shootings. Just like the local girl that was sacrificed in our neighborhood. On 11/9/119, a depiction of the divine feminine and her name using this septenary cipher, she was coded with the moon, 1080. You can go back and see some of my playlists for Julia Davis if you want to understand that case better. Obviously, well, it's not obvious. I shouldn't say obviously. Reality is not what it appears. It's only obvious once you've begun to decode it and you begin to wake up in stages and everything that you thought you knew starts peeling away like onion layers. You don't even know the matrix, the box, the cube that they've constructed around you. See, matrix and womb are the same thing. You're being created within a womb to be born into a false reality. That's what a matrix is all about. It's about the Kaaba, it's about Kabbalah, it's about a cube and living in a fake world. Movies drop hints like this all the time. Are you listening? I watched another movie last night that also mentioned the ciphers in a completely different way. Are we going to continue pretending that they don't exist? Are we going to pretend that Manly P. Hall didn't reveal to us that these ciphers exist in his books? He wrote about them. And how is it that Francis Bacon, who is known very well for creating such ciphers, how is it that we would ignore the understanding that he helped to create the ciphers that the Mason King James and his appointed committee used to translate the Bible? The standardized English into a code that could be gematriated or gematriated, however you would like to pronounce it. Will we learn history? Will we understand that to uncover this false reality, we have to learn the reality of history, that words are numbers. But this is not automatically satanic by any stretch of the imagination. The entire Bible is full of gematria. Nearly every verse is gematriated. If you take Daniel chapter 12, verse 12, remember 12 times 12 is 144,000, which Daniel and Revelation are so frequently compared to each other because they talk about the same thing. But Daniel 12:12 says, "Blessed is the man that cometh to the 1,335 days." If you type in the entire verse of Daniel 12:12 into the gematriator calculator under the septenary cipher, it sums to 335. Just drop the 1, you see. And Galatians 4:4, talking about the appointed time. Go back and see my video about how George Washington compares to Jesus Christ. Now, Galatians 4:4 and 4:3 and 4:2 are talking about that appointed time. How it compares to 4:4. The whole Bible is full of such examples. Are we going to read it? How are we going to understand it if we choose not to understand these things? How are we going to make a difference in this world? We can't get past this false reality unless we understand that there is one and that we start making progress towards peeling back the layers, uncovering what they've constructed around us, understanding what is true. So many things are not your own thoughts. So many things are just the society, just the movies, just the government, just the CNN and the Fox News reporting and the Rush Limbaughs and your public schools and your universities programming us with false knowledge and false reality. We think the world is billions of years old, that rock layers somehow that have no evidence whatsoever, which is all rock layers, that any time has ever lapsed between the layers are somehow billions of years of slow deposits. And we throw our minds out the window because someone has constructed a false reality for us. And we choose to live in that false reality, but we never stop and ask why. How? How is this true? Why did you come to this conclusion? What evidence do you really have? Why do you believe what others have said? Why should we believe what other people have said? Why should I believe anything that anybody says unless I prove it for myself? All of us have a duty to understand the world as it really is. We have a job, a task to grow, to experience truth as it really is, to not be bound by those who would enslave our minds. In Gematria, the word celebrity and the word mind slave are the same in at least 3 and maybe 4 ciphers. Are we all mind slaves? Do we all just throw our minds away so that we don't stir anything, so that we don't rock the boat, so we walk on eggshells so that we don't accidentally offend anyone? If the truth is offensive, we have a right to ourselves to be that type of offensive, because we must live in the truth. I hope this has convinced some people to explore the world for themselves, to ask those fundamental questions about every aspect of society, about every aspect of everything you see, everywhere you go, every movie you watch, every book you read, everything you hear at church, every last thing that is taught at public school or university or is given to you by your doctor. Ask, how do we know this is real? And learn to recognize the truth for yourself. See, the truth of God is already within you if you learn to recognize it. It doesn't come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out. God is already within you. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.